Hello everyone, it's Tana and welcome to the Rabbit Hole Designs YouTube channel. Now if you follow the channel, you saw my new release product video last week, but I forgot to show you the pin, the newly designed Rabbit Hole Designs pin, which will be placed randomly in orders, and that little QR code will take you right to the website, and they will never be sold, so it's a special little thing to have that other people might not get. Okay, so for the first card, we are going to use the Bunny Ballet stamp set, and we're going to use that twirling bunny that's all by herself. And let me just say, I had planned on adding one of those hot foiled wands to her and forgot. I might do it now, but it's not in the video, so I just wanted to say that. So we're going to make a spinner card, so I need a mirror image. So I did that using my two embossing folder things that the rubber mats that I bought from MFT, and my Pink Fresh Studio hot foil solid plate. And inside my Misty, that makes it the perfect height to mirror and stamped image. Okay, so I have it all colored in. Excuse me, I'm just going to show you how I colored in the heart sparkles. I didn't want to cut that part off. I mean, it's like a integral part of this image. She is creating those sparkles as she twirls with her wand. So I colored it a light lavender, and then I went over it with my sparkled jelly roll pen and also my Wink of Stella pen, and lined those up and kind of traced it so it would match up when I taped them together. Fussy cut it out, made sure everything matched up nice and nothing was sticking out where it shouldn't. And now we're going to create our background. So I took Catherine Pooler inks that I listed there. I believe it's Matcha, Apricot, Lilac, and I can't remember the other one. But they're listed on the screen for you guys. And also the Clouds in My Coffee stencil from the Rabbit Hole Designs, one of my favorite all-time stencils. And I'm just going to very carefully create this background. Like, most of these colors can be blended together without any issues. But when you get to the orange and the purple, or even the green and the purple, I don't remember if those two touch, but you just want to be careful that you're not over blending, because you will get brown. It will start to look brown, and you know that's not what we're going for. So I was careful. I did manage to get it all, the panel all ink blended, and just didn't show you guys all of it. You know how that goes. And we're getting down to the bottom here. And then I'm just going to do that last white space with some of the apricot. And I tend to go towards the party colors for Catherine Pooler, so I wanted to try to do it with spa colors this time. And here, this is a what the fork moment, guys. Okay, just watch. I am trying to get this dome matched up in the center of my card panel. And it keeps sticking to my magnets that I'm using to keep the panel down on the whiteboard, the glass board. And I keep moving it back, getting it centered, and it keeps popping back to the magnets. And finally I had to hold it with my hand, but I have to say, this is time-lapsed. This took me about 7 minutes, guys. Like, my brain was not functioning, telling me move the magnets. I was trying to make it work with the magnets. So now that I have that all die cut out, we're now going to set that where we want it on the card panel. And then we're going to match that same dome die back up so that we can cut a space out of the front panel only of our card base. You don't want to cut it through both, you just want to cut it through the front panel. So after I get it all lined up, I'm going to unfold the card, die cut it, and then take that white piece out. And now we have a nice space inside the front panel of our card, so we have a place to put our spinning ballerina. Now I'm going to use that piece I cut out of our cloud background, and I'm going to place that right inside the empty space so that the image continues to the inside of the card. And now we're going to place, now this, you can use anything you want. You can use fishing line, I've used that before. You can use string, you know, embroidery floss. This is like clear quilting thread, and that's what I used for my spinning card. And I used some extra sticky double-sided adhesive here, lined up where I wanted that thread to go, stuck it down as well as I could, But then I'm going to add some glue to the other side of the ballerina and make sure that that stays in place, because you'll be surprised. Even with the glue and the tape, I was still able to maneuver that string to tighten it. So you just want to make sure you have it in there as well as you can, as secured as you can. Now that I've got that all glued together, I'm going to just go over the edges all the way around with a black marker, make it look more finished. And now I'm going to tape our spinning thread down. You want to place her where you want her to be, and then tighten that thread straight up into the double-sided adhesive. Same thing for the bottom. Place your string there, make sure they're nice and taut. Not too tight, but you don't want them loose, because loose will not work when it comes to the spinner card. Now I'm going to place that frame, the card panel, onto the card base and line it up as best I can over the domed empty space. And now I'm going to, after she dries, I'm going to make sure she spins. And I'm also going to add a frame. So I took the same size dome frame that I used to cut the hole, and then one size bigger, and created a frame by taping the two together out of some purple glitter sparkle cardstock. Now we're going to place our sentiment in there. I cannot remember which one I used, but I'm trying to make sure that you can see it through the front of the card and also when you open the card. So that's what I'm trying to do here. And then I realized that I probably cut that part out, but I did originally have this card base in a smaller Misty, if you can believe that. And I was like, well, wait, that's not going to work. So I had to get out the larger Misty. So we have our sentiment there. You make my heart dance. That's what it says. Then I retighten the string by pulling it on both sides before I finally snipped the extra off. And I would recommend not snipping the extra thread off until you're all done putting the card together. Then make sure everything's nice and taut, and then snip your strings. Now I'm just going to add some of these Trinity stamps, like gem drops. They look like little drops. They're really cool looking. In the upper right and lower left hand corners, and then make sure she spins. And that's it for the first card, guys. And this is interactive all the way for this video. So for this second card, we're going to make a magic sliding card. And this is the first time I've ever done a card like this. So this one's larger. It's going to be 5 by 7. And I really wanted to use the park background. So I have that all colored in, and I wanted it to be nighttime. So now we're making our frame. And I had to go by a Jennifer McGuire video because I've never made one of these cards before. So I'm doing it the way she did it. I measured out, I know my frame isn't equal on all four sides, but I did that because I wanted that whole park background in there, and with the size of the card, the frame ended up looking like that, but that's okay. If you want it to be an A2, you can trim that park background down. It's completely up to you, but I don't know how thin your frame would be. So now I'm measuring out my acetate, and this is a Simon Says Stamp heat resistant acetate. And you're going to need that because we're going to heat emboss. I mean, if you don't want to heat emboss and you want to use Stays-On ink, you don't need the heat resistant acetate, but I heat embossed. So now I am using my Barely Arts glue, and I'm placing my ballerinas, my colored ballerinas, where I want them on the main panel of the card, the main image. And we need to make sure we know where they're going. So they're going to be glued in place, and they're not going anywhere. And you notice how I have my card base in the panel, or up in the corner of the Misty, because now we're going to rely on the Misty to make sure everything lines up. So now I lined up my ballerina stamp, make sure it all lined up with the colored images. And I also placed my sentiment in there, up in the corner, upper left-hand corner. And now I am putting my powder tool on both sides of the acetate, so that no embossing powder sticks anywhere. And I'm gluing it to its frame really quick. And I think I was hoping that way, if there was any warping, it would prevent some warping. I mean, I seem to have a little bit of trouble with warping with this card, but I think it's because I wasn't doing it right, because I've used that acetate since then and have no issues. So now I'm using some, I believe it's VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and I inked that up twice, and then I put some clear embossing powder over it, and then I'm going to heat set that. And that's what that looks like when it's all finished. And now I'm going to use strips of extra cardstock. And this is what I mean by I was taking a page from Jennifer McGuire. You can use foam tape if you want. I, with the frame being so thin on those sides, elected to use cardstock instead. So I glued 4 pieces together for each side of the card except for one. Wherever you want your sliding piece of cardstock to be, you don't put any cardstock on that. That's where you're going to need to be able to maneuver your magic piece in and out. So on 3 sides I put 4 pieces stacked up of cardstock so we can build up our frame. And now I'm taking that frame, I used some pink marker that matches the cardstock I'm going to use on the front and just colored that in so there would be no white space showing. And now I'm going to glue the pink frame onto our acetate frame, like so. And this is just a piece of cardstock from my stash. I believe it might be Concord and 9th. If you want to use something sturdier, you can. And now I'm marking by just marking where the inside of the card slider would be with pencil and trimming that piece of cardstock down. And I'm going to cut 2 to the same size. That way, when we put our pull tab on, it won't get stuck sliding in and out because it'll be in between the 2 pieces of cardstock. And I'm just going to stamp pull on that little tab there. And then I'm going to glue that in place on the first piece of cardstock. And then I'm going to glue the other piece of cardstock right over that and line them up. I hope I explained this good enough. I always wonder with the first time I do something if I've explained it well enough. So there it's sliding in and out. Now we have to glue our frame to the card base itself. I'm only gluing on 3 sides, because we need that 4th side for sliding the cardstock in and out. I'm going to make sure that's nice, secure, and dry before I go trying to slide anything in and out of it. So there we go. And then we have our card base. We'll make sure this slides. And I'm just going to use some double-sided adhesive from Simon Says Stamp to make sure that that whole thing sticks to its card base. Now, had I made this the full 5x7 size instead of leaving a frame around it, the frame around the acetate probably would have been a little bit thicker and better. And here's another what the fork moment, guys. I left this in on purpose because none of us are perfect, okay? I put tape on it and I put glue on it and just set it down in the wrong spot. And that tape is so sticky, it did not come off without destroying the 5x7 card base. So I had to make a whole new card base and peel off as much of that extra paper as I could and then go for it again. So yes, I had 2 what the fork moments in this video. And here is our finished Magic Slider color card or color changer card. There's so many names for this. You can call it whatever you like. I hope you liked today's video. Don't forget to sign up for the Rabbit Hole Designs email to be aware of all new releases and to sign up on Instagram and the Facebook group so you can see all the inspiration all month long. And we will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye for now.